Okay, all right. So Tyrion 2 in a storm of swords. Right. Last time we saw our friend Tyrion, he was having a really heartwarming chat with his dad. Who was this really fatherly figure who has never made it a secret that he wishes his son had never been born. But hey, since he carries the Lannister name, might as well look after him. Make sure that nothing too bad happens to him. Just as if he was like a regular son, almost. If you're interested in listening to my read on that chapter, it's there. You can find it right here on this channel type thing. Tyrion 1. Anyway, welcome. Okay, we open this other chapter overhearing Varys humming to himself. You can totally picture it as he opens the door to his, apartments. Yeah, I can totally picture Varys as a fan of washboard rhythm kings. Humming to myself. Just love that image. Keys to my quarters. Oh, check. All right, in I go. And whoops! Oh la la! What's happening here? Tyrion is here, in my headquarters. Why? Waiting. He's waiting there, waiting for Varys by the fireplace. Aha! He goes. Huh? Didn't think I could creep up on you like that, huh? Why, Lord Tyrion, I'm honoured of your visit. What do you think of my digs, huh? Do you like them? A bit too minimalistic, if you ask me. Not the kind of crib I expected. A fat, corrupt, and decadent dude like you. I thought, a corrupt and decadent dude. I thought you were. Would actually live in these kind of digs. What's going on here? This is another deconstruction, surely, of a trope. So anyway, Varys gives Tyrion what might pass for an apologies for not coming to see him after the battle while Tyrion was there and raving. He just goes meh, yeah. He goes Tyrion does. He says, well, you behaved exactly like my family, so who cares? By not caring, you remind me of any member of my family. But it was the missing nose, Tyrion's missing nose that made Varys all squeamish, apparently. So Tyrion jokingly wonders if he should get a new nose, maybe made of gold. Ha! As if that was a likely thing, A Lannister, more precisely, one of Tywin's offsprings, getting a prosthetic made of gold. The idea. Imagine if that were to happen in a future chapter. Okay, well, I'll shut up about this thing about prosthetics made of gold. I'll shut up right now about it because I've got this no spoiler policy. No spoiler in this series of book series. I'll only be looking back and not forward. I'll just assume that you, dear listener, have at least made it until the end of this chapter. Yeah, do we have a deal? So we learn that Maester Pycelle, who'd been banned from the small council and put in a dungeon by Tyrion, he has now been restored to his former position by Tywin. So, and that's like Tyrion's reform being undone. Number one, we will see more of those later. But here's one detail that sheds some light into the workings, into the Citadel's powers. The Citadel, the place in Old Town where maesters are grown, reared, and then dispatched to whatever house can afford their services. And namely, we learn that only the conclave in the Citadel has the authority to make or unmake a Grand Maester, which is what Pycelle is, like Maester to the king, to the monarch. And making or unmaking a Grand Maester is not the prerogative of a king, let alone the hand of a king, which is why some Targaryen monarchs in the past had a, shall we say, a more expedient way to unmake archmaesters, like beheading them or feeding them to their dragons. A lot less red tape. Incidentally, I find, the conclave, I find that word, the choice of word conclave, interesting because when a pope dies in the Vatican, it is precisely what is known as a conclave of selected cardinals who elects the new pope in secret meetings behind closed doors. See, here it really shows that George R. Martin grew up with the teachings of Cathol, and not for the last time. Here we have a conclave of archmaesters who make and unmake the new what do you call it, Grand Maester. Anyway, things were actually a bit more complicated than that. The conclave did meet and deliberate on a new archmaester, and they picked Maester Gormon, who happens to be a Tyrell. At which point Varys, who somehow knew about this, even though the conclave's meetings are supposedly secret, Varys told Tywin, who then decided, all right, okay, I guess we're going with Pycelle. And this thing is really bugging me now, because Varys has spies in the Citadel in places where not even regular maesters are allowed to set foot in. That's just food for thought. Food for thoughts. Another restoration that took place was that of Barros Blount. For anybody who cares, he's now back in the Kingsguard after being temporarily removed, suspended for failing to properly protect Tommen in that whole Rosby debacle. Then the conversation moves to Bronn, who's been investigating the late Sir Mandon Moore, and in particular, what it was that made Mr. Moore decide to whack Tyrion right in the middle of the Blackwater battle, out of the blue, just when things were going so well. And this Moore dude is the reason Tyrion is missing half his nose, lest we forget. And Tyrion's squire, Podrick Payne, incidentally, is the reason Tyrion is still alive, because Pod pushed Mandon Moore in the river, drowning him because Moore was wearing like a ton of steel armor. And he pushed him in the river before he could slice Tyrion in halves. An action for which Podrick has yet to receive so much as a thank you, by the way. Anyway, to cut a long story short, it's Shay. That's the reason why Tyrion has been waiting for Varys in the latter's headquarters. It's Shay. It's all about Shay. Tyrion wants to see Shay, and Varys has kind of acted as a go-between so far. I mean, Tyrion. To recap, previously on Ice and Fire, Tyrion had settled Shay in a manse up there near Flea Bottom. Slightly north of Flea Bottom, if you look at a map. But it was usually up to Varys, who knows all the secret passages in the Red Keep, to kind of help Tyrion slip out unnoticed, exit the gate, and ride to that manse every time he fancied a bit of an intimate time with his secret mistress. Yeah, this is possibly one of the most soap operatic, subplots. Anyway, after that, Shay was relocated in the Red Keep, so closer to Tyrion, disguised as a maid to poor Lolly, Lady Tanda Stokeworth's daughter. And I don't think Shay is altogether happy with these new arrangements, from lady of the house, with singers singing to her and servants and whatnot. and previously clans people guarding her, looking after her, protecting her, as it were, to anonymous servant in the service of Lady Tanda, and Lady Tanda's daughter Lolly, who must, with with all due respect, I know she went through a lot, but she must be a pain in the ass to look after poor darling. Poor darling, this has been all patronizing. Look at me. Anyway, sorry, but that's where she's at right now, and it's driving Tyrion mad, because he meets her all the time in the castle somewhere, in various places here and there on a daily basis, and he can't talk to her because he suspects that he's being watched. At which Varys goes, you suspect? Nah, mate, you are being watched. Trust me. I'll just say this word, Kettleback. Ah, Kettleback, you say? Which one? Why, all three of them. Plus, Osmond, in particular, who is now a newly made member of the Kingsguard, is being rewarded by Cersei for spying and reporting on you, dear Tyrion, for the usual sack of gold, the type of bribe you always see in these medieval stories, a sack of gold, there, for your services, as well as not just gold, as well as the promise of certain other favors, concludes Varys, tapping the tip of his nose with his index finger a few times, tap, 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 the universal sign that signifies, say no more, wink, wink. And Tyrion is all outraged. Oh, well, I never. In his best Eddie Izzard impression. Do you think that Peter Dinklage really did model his, I don't know if it's said in any interview, if he modeled his accent on Eddie Izzard when preparing for the role and knowing that he had to sound British. I find a lot of Eddie Izzard kind of inflections, shall we say, in Peter Dinklage's performance. Anyway, yes, well, Cersei has been with Kettleback, Osmond comma Osmond. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you. I mean, it's a promise. She hasn't been sleeping with him. She's kind of like, sort of like promising, implying, Every time he passes by, she sort of winks at him, gives him these unmistakable hand gestures, sliding her index finger in and out of a sort of a cup she makes with the other hand, and she goes, big boy. So what am I to make of that, huh? Okay, look, I'm actually paraphrasing all of that, all right? You might have noticed these lines are not verbatim, but I'm just, you and I have read this chapter, okay? So you know that's pretty much the gist. And anyway, continues Varys. Janos Slynt's sons are also watching your every move, waiting for you to make a poo-poo, mistake of any kind, so they can report it to Tywin, because they're still mad at you for not exiling their father for exiling, for doing just that, for exiling their father to the Night's Watch. Yeah, that's right. It's been a while since we last checked with Janos Slynt, but we will have the displeasure of meeting him again, of course. Nothing is forever. When you're planting gardens, as it were, as George R. Martin does, is gardening. That seed will eventually, germinate. So there's that, and not to mention Littlefinger, who's got spies everywhere in his establishments. So forget about, a bit of the old hanky-panky in any of those brothels. So yeah, So Varys is like, so you want me to arrange it for you to meet Shay, if I correctly understand you, to you for you and Shay to Shay. Is that how it's pronounced? Shay. It just means something in Arabic, doesn't it? Shay, not to confuse with Shay, which means tea. There, I thought I'd just put it out there. So you and Shay, you want to meet Shay so you can have a bit of the old say no more. But where? Surely, where at all? Well, dear Varys, I'm glad you asked. Why, right here, man. Yeah, man. I don't know why that came out with that accent. It's got to be right here, man. Yeah, man. In your quarters. I mean, the bed is a bit hard, huh? And there's no bubbly in the fridge, but those are things that can be fixed, I suppose. So it's agreed, and here Mr. Martin does a great job describing the behavior of a person who is in love, waiting, is forced to wait several hours before seeing the love interest. So that's really good. And then he treats us to some garment porn. I mean, a lot of fuss, is usually made over the lengthy food descriptions in this series, what some readers call food porn. But I actually enjoy food descriptions personally. Whereas I don't think enough attention is devoted to garment porn. I don't know what it is, but my brain kind of starts reading on an automatic pilot when I come across all those descriptions of items of clothing and fabrics and accessories. Okay, listen to this. Okay, I got it right here. Bookmark, quick. First, he chooses a pair of tight satin breeches in Lannister. Lost my mark. Lannister crimson, and his best doublet, the heavy black velvet with the lion's head studs. Then decides that attire is too formal for what must appear to be a simple visit to Varys. It's supposed to be incognito. So he changes into something else. He changes into woolen breeches, an old white tunic, and a faded brown leather jerkin. I'd say I didn't even know what a jerkin was. I had to look it up to find out that it's a sort of like a waistcoat, like those worn by professional pool snooker players. But then again, I guess that's how world building works in this series. If you want your world building, imagine the world in your head, you have to work a little bit for it. I mean, how many of us knew what an aurochs was before encountering that animal way back in a Game of Thrones? Huh? A large bull that got extinct in the 1600s. I bet we all know that, thanks to George R.R. Martin. Still, I must say, Robert E. Howard's was a bit simpler in his Conan the Barbarian, Conan this, Conan that stories. Everyone in those stories, everyone seemed to just hang around in a loincloth. I remember those loincloths. They were everywhere. I remember having drinking games, a shot for every time a loincloth was mentioned. Good old Robert E. Howard. Anyway, where was I? Sorry. Let's get back on track. So Tyrion finally tells Podrick, look, I'm going to pay Varys a visit, and I will be quite long. To which Podrick goes, oh, that's not what I've heard. Ha, ha, ha. No, never mind. So anyway, Tyrion slips out and has a chat with Loras Tyrell, the Knight of Flowers. Will I be talking about that painting again? From the 1800s, was it? French painting? The Knight of Flowers. There's no way, you just look at that painting, there's no way Mr. Martin was not inspired by that painting when he came up with the moniker Knight of Flowers. Look at the painting, it will become clear. Anyway, so Loras Tyrell is there guarding the drawbridge, and he's donning the white cloak, having been made freshly made a member of the King's Guard. So he just hello, hi, how are you doing? So so how do you like it here? The food, the weather, everything to your satisfaction. And what's it like, being in the King's Guard, huh? Stunning, no, what's the word? A strapping young lad like yourself. Don't you regret having sworn off all, romantic relationships? Because that's one of the vows you have to swear as a brother of the King's Guard. But Loras just gives him one of these enigmatic answers. Oh well, I'm not interested in the relationships because once the sun is set, no candle can replace it. He did love once, Mr. Loras. And dear listener, this is like literally the fourth clue in the entire series pointing to Renly and Loras being uninterested in girls and in fact in a relationship with each other. And as clues go, this isn't really much of a clue either. Okay, so he had a true love. You have to connect it with all the other clues to sort of, put the what do you call it, the puzzle together, the jigsaw. That's it. That's the word, the jigsaw together. Shall I go through the? Yeah, do you want me to go through the questions? I've got them right here. Actually, it's one of these notes I have. First, we have Sir Daisy. They call him, said Walder Frey way back in a Game of Thrones, Catelyn 9. It's a mild one. It's not much of a clue. Okay, Sir Daisy. Yeah, all right. Why not? He wears flowers on his armor. I suppose Daisy could be one of those. Then he's referred to as the Knight of Pansies, who played that bugger's trick in the Hand of the King's Tourney. These lines come from the mouth of the dreadful character Chiswick in that horrible story that he tells in a Clash of Kings Area 7. Stomach churning, but it contains lots of clues as to what world we live in, and this tiny. Okay, so he's the Knight of Pansies. What's according to Chiswick? What's that supposed to mean? Also, in a Clash of Kings, Catelyn 3, that famous meeting between Stannis, the failed parley, Stannis and Renly. Stannis said to Renly, "Look, Marjorie, right? Yeah, what about her? Yeah, in your bed, Marjorie is like to die a maid." And that's literally it. That's it. Now, to those things, to those clues, we have to add, I had a great love once. He was the sun to me, but now the sun has set. That's all we've got. So not much to go on. Whereas in the HBO series, they really went out of their way to show the relationship in graphic details as possible, as graphic as they could, because sexposition, in the HBO series. Anyway, so they talk about the sun is set. Oh right, what are you, a poet? I forgot what Tyrion says to that. It's like that could come out of this. That belongs in that what you just said. Yeah, belongs in a song. Yeah, I can see now that you're only 17, and he realizes that he's said something insulting when Loras goes, "Are you mocking me?" Because he does tend to. He's a bit hot-headed, isn't he? At which point Tyrion thinks to himself, "Oh, what a prickly lad." Prickly. Does that count as another subliminal clue? Like George R. R. Martin tends to insert here and there. I don't know. You be the judge of that. So anyway, all right. He slips in, Tyrion, and he enters Varys's H quarters. And it's actually Varys himself who opens the door, but he's in one of his disguises. This time he's disguised as a plump woman with curly hair. Varys with his disguises. He's a bit like Inspector Clouseau, but okay, Varys makes himself scarce. Before you can see, you turn around and poof, he's gone. He's now presumably hanging around in one of his secret passages, all in drag. And only Shay remains in the apartment, because she was there as well. I forgot to tell you that. So they have a bit of the old sex, and he's done. After literally 5 good thrusts, he's like, oh, right, oh, that was really good. Was it good for you? But that's all right. Shay doesn't seem to mind that it's it's all over so quickly. And then Tyrion is overtaken by what scientists call the post-coitus regrets, post-coital regretus, because he's all like, look, this must be our last time, okay? It's too dangerous. And Shay, instead of giving him like a predictable answer, like, well, if that was meant to be our last, our last time, maybe we should have made it count. Make it last a little more, don't you think? No, but she just goes, she changes the subject completely. She does that a lot in this exchange. She goes, oh, I like your scar. I mean, isn't that random? It's like, we mustn't see each other anymore. I like your scar. Who writes this? These are kind of like, sort of like Twin Peaks those type of dialogues, they do feel written by David Lynch. I like your scar. It gives you a sexy look, manly and all. Tyrion just wanted, just go, but listen, I'm being watched by spies everywhere. You have no idea how dangerous this affair of ours actually is. And she just goes, okay, what about my jewels and silks? They were all up in that manse, and now Varys is keeping them locked somewhere for safekeeping. So see, it's this very surreal conversation they're having. What about this is very dangerous. Yeah, but what about my jewels? So whatever he says, she says the opposite. Like he goes, you should leave the city. You should leave the city, the King's Landing. To which she replies, no, I should attend King Joffrey's wedding, especially the feast. Maybe just the feast. I can slip in unnoticed. See what I mean? It's so like, what? We're not really on the same page here, are we? And she's like, I cannot miss it. Dude, Simon says, I just find it so funny. She starts 2 sentences with, Simon says, the things that make me laugh, really. Anyway, so she goes, Simon says it's going to be awesome. At which point, Tyrion pulls out of Shay, because he's still kind of like inside her. So he pulls out of her, and with a kind of sound, a poop, and he rolls over and goes, whoa, Simon, who's this Simon guy now? And actually, we did meet, I did mention a singer, right? We did meet this Simon Silvertongue, but that's what he calls himself anyway, Silvertongue, like the founder of Springfield in the Simpsons, isn't it? He's the singer who sang for Shay in the manse. Now, turns out that Shay has now persuaded Lady Stokeworth to hire him as a singer for Lolly. So he's also stationed in the Stokeworth's quarters as a resident singer. We now have a person, apart from Tyrion and Varys, we now have another person who may or may not be trusted, who knows exactly who Shay is within the Red Keep, and predictably this worries Tyrion, because he is thinking, what if this Simon guy has a big mouth, which we'll, of course, find out soon enough. We're also given more info on the wedding feast. I think this is the first time. There's supposed to be 77 courses. This will crop up again and again. 77 courses, 7 being a sacred number that's supposed to, bring good luck and fortune and whatnot. And and which already gets us ready for a massive food description. Will we get every single one of these 77 courses described in detail? Keep reading and you shall see, dear listener. And there will be a pigeon pie, not a layer cake with the two, the bride and the groom on top. A pigeon pie that will actually contain live pigeons. Well, doves, really, doves, white doves of peace, which will be released into the air, by a sword. You cut slice the pie with a sword, and that's the sound that doves will make, liberated from the pie and flying around all over the place. This tacky, absurd flaunting of opulence in these sort of food extravaganzas. George R. R. Martin must have read for sure that novel Satyricon by Petronius, because there is an absurdly extravagant dinner there in that novel, in a chapter, Trimalchio's dinner, where all the foods are dressed up to look like something else, and it's all like weird, and you open them up and there's gold in gold coins. Like, it's seriously the tackiest and most exaggerated sort of flaunting of abundance of money reflected in the food. And this is apparently a Lannister trait as well. Oh, surprise, surprise! There's also supposed to be a dancing bear. So who wouldn't want that? I mean, who wouldn't want to watch a dancing bear? All the way from Russia, there. So they have a bit of a back and forth. Can I come to the wedding? No, it's too dangerous, Shay. I can't allow you. Yada yada. Can I come? No. Can I come? So no, come on. Another intercourse, a bit longer this time, and then now can I come? Now that I made you come? Ha ha. Predictable joke. And no, still no. And then at which point Tyrion sets out to find the secret door in Varys' quarter, because that's like one of his obsessions, isn't it? He's been thinking, if Varys, right, has access to all these places within the castle where he just eavesdrops on conversations and no one sees him come and go because he uses secret passages like he did back there, just when he disappeared into one of his tunnels, dressed as Madame Varys, then surely he must have a secret door right here in his apartments. But surely where? At which point Shay just goes, yeah, mate, the liver is just under the bed. Under the bed? Yep. Varys just tapped a spot under the bed and the bed lifted right up. Kind of like Indiana Jones, one of those deathly traps you see in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I asked him how he pulled that neat trick, and he just said, it's a kind of magic. So Varys is clearly a fan of Freddie Mercury. And this is where Tyrion goes all smug on her. Some kind of magic. He pats her on the head. Some kind of magic. Oh, bless you, dearie. You do say the darnest things. Oh, I think you'll find it's a simple application of a counterweight principle. Why, physics 101, really. Once again, I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially the dialogue. Also, this is probably a good time to note that Book Shay seems a lot more resigned to her social status than HBO series. Because the latter in the TV series, she was a lot more like, well, why can't I be your lady, huh? Go on, say it. I'm some kind of a property of yours, aren't I? You might as well say it. Shay this and shay that. Bad word she uses. Bad derogative words for sex workers and so on. Well, when you think about it, where this book Shay that we read about right now is more like, oh well, I suppose attending the wedding feast is off the table for me. All right, la di da. Who wants some frozen yogurt? La 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 la. In fact, she literally says, and I quote, I like being your whore. That's what she says. Okay, so clearly these are two different Shays, I noticed, which means that what Shay does next in both the books and the TV in both in A Storm of Swords and the TV series, no spoilers, results more or less shocking depending on which Shay we're actually following. I mean, even the motivation is different. For one Shay, it's probably, I guess, revenge against Tyrion, revenge, for lack of a better word. While for the other Shay, it's probably just realization that in her social status, she'd better bet on the winning side every time if she just wants to stay alive. Anyway, so I've probably said too much already. Don't want to contravene or violate my no spoiler free whatever policy. I just find it interesting that the TV series creators, by the way, what are they called? Weiss and Benioff. They seem to be fond of this theme, not only in Shay. The theme of former sex workers with ambitions of social mobility, like that character, I think her name is Rose, which they created for TV series. Oh, yeah, Peter Dinklage does say that. Your next tumble with Rose is on me, and he tosses a coin at I think, Theon Greyjoy, way back in season 1. And so she, this Rose, who was she? A sex worker from Winterfell, who ended up following Robert's caravan on their way to King's Landing. She winds up there, and then becomes the manager in one of Littlefinger's brothels. And then at some point, she's there on the pier somewhere, I think, waving Myrcella goodbye or something. And Varys, who stands next to her, and he goes, oh, look at us, how far we've come. You know that character? Yep, never existed in the books. So, yeah, don't expect to find her there. Anyway, so Tyrion's smuggery is still running high because when he gets back to his bedchambers and he finds Pod asleep in his own bed, so he wakes him up, he shakes him, he wakes him up and just goes, Bronn, to him. At which point, Pod just replies, sure, Sir Bronn, shall I get him? Which is, come on. For a guy who's barely awake, you just woke him up. That's quite a coherent response, as opposed to, there's no sugar in my coffee, like coming from a dream. Yeah, what, Bronn? Yeah, no, what's a Bronn? No, I'm not Bronn, I'm Pod. He could have said something like that, but he's actually quite efficient. Yeah, shall I get him? And Tyrion goes all like, no, what do you think? What do you think? No, I just woke you up so we could discuss Bronn's dress code, you moron. Come on, Tyrion, give the guy a break. Anyway, so since he realizes that his sarcasm is clearly wasted on Pod, he just goes, yeah, go and fetch Bronn in the middle of the night, because you guys are here to serve me, and that's what you're paid for, so, yeah. So Pod rushes out. Tyrion pours himself some wine, usual pattern, Tyrion is waiting and pours himself some wine. Nothing to see here. And as it turns out, Bronn was in the middle of a threesome at Chataya's establishment, in bed with a girl named Mary and none other than Alayaya. Good to see that she's back in business, poor Yaya. Hopefully not too scarred by the experience of being held and whipped by Cersei, you will remember from a Clash of Kings. So it's all originated from the misunderstanding. I don't want to spend too much on it. And Tyrion likes to think that at least he adequately compensated Yaya for the damage and the humiliation, but he's nevertheless annoyed at the fact that Bronn was in bed with her. I mean, he wouldn't dare. Tyrion wouldn't dare go into Chataya for a bit of a tumble under the bed sheets with Yaya because he'd be seen and spotted and reported on by spies. But nonetheless, he's that kind of a guy. If I can't have her, then Bronn should never either. There, I said it. And in turns, Bronn is annoyed at Tyrion for being dragged out of Yaya's bed. So there. So Bronn goes, all right, okay, look, I'm here now. This had better be important. And Tyrion just tells him, he tells him something that, honestly, I think could have waited until the morning, He just goes, yeah, listen, there's this singer, calls himself Simon Silvertongue. Yeah, all right, so what? Yeah, I want you to, what's the word? Because he just stops short from saying, I want you to kill him for me. He just goes, I just want you to find him for me, will you? And that's, you see what, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He doesn't want him murdered. I just want to talk to him. This is such a mob boss kind of, we just want to talk some sense into the guy. While he's, dangling from the 15th floor. While he'll hold him by his ankles, dangling from the 15th floor. So that's the ideal time and circumstance to sort of question him, I guess. Okay, so yeah, find Simon Silvertongue, and that's that, my dear friend and listener. That is how Tyrion 2 ends in A Storm of Kings. Great chapter. Lots of ramifications. Lots of seeds planted by our good old constant gardener, George R.R. Martin, who I hope is planting more seeds right now and reaping. Plucking and very soon allow us who will hopefully allow us to very soon reap the reward, pluck the fruits. Yes, that's right. At the time, right now, currently, whatever time it is, when this thing will be published, The Winds of Winter hasn't yet come out. Will it ever? Yeah, that's a question for the ages, isn't it? Oh, anyway, so let's keep an eye on this. I'm saying, planting seeds, gardening, etc., because these characters will become important and referred to in several other scattered pieces of future chapters and books. In the meantime, what can I say? Thank you for your interest. Thank you for following me thus far, dear listener, and if you like this kind of content, feel free to do the usual things that people do in these sort of channels, and I look forward to talking to you again soon with Aria 2. Oh God, yeah. This must be where the Inn of the Kneeling Men. Shh, say no more. Speak to you soon. Bye.